Well, viewers, unfortunately, I made one of my terrible mistakes because of my numbers aren't good. I'm not good with numbers, and I accidentally arrived on the wrong day to film this amazing 2001 Rover 75 2-litre V6 Connoisseur manual. Yeah, it's actually a Connoisseur SE, so top of the range. It's got the same engine as it, my 45 V6, but it's a manual. A lot of people say that they should have put a manual box into the 45 V6 to make it better, and I'm one of them. You know, I live with it every day. The gearbox is a bit lazy and stuff, which is a bit of a problem. But in here, V6 with a manual gearbox, and oh my gosh, this interior is beautiful. It actually looks even better on camera than it looks in person. So this is a pre-project drive car. It was made at Longbridge. It's not a Cowley car, as you might have noticed. The sills are not black, but it is an early Cowley car without the deletions for Project Drive. Now the light's a little bit dark in here, so I'm just going to turn on. It's here. Just pause a second, hold on.
Just interesting stuff, that's all.
Mike has so much interesting stuff to say. He knows like more about these cars than possibly anyone alive. Yeah, his level of knowledge. You know, you think I know a lot about MG Rover stuff. You just ask Mike; he'll definitely know more. Look at these sort of dials that light up like this. Isn't that amazing? This is called a row of 4 bag of switches here. That is the heated seat either side. This is cruise control. Cruise control was standard on this trim because this is a Connoisseur SE. It's right at the top of the tree in terms of the 75 trims that were available at the time. This is the original stereo unit. I'll make sure that sort of comes on. I'll make sure we don't have too much noise. Okay, should turn that down so we don't have any copyright infringement. Original sort of tape deck in here. But the little clock here looks really appropriate with these instruments. Now, some people at the time when this car was launched thought that was really not a good thing to have, but I think it really suits the character of the car. This sort of big slab of wood across here. Can't remember if this is real or not, actually. Answer in the comment section below. Bonnet release is down there. Boot release, that works, of course. Everything works in this car. Still got the bank of switches here, which I always think should have had some kind of chrome detailing around them. Nice fitting door handle. This car is not perfect. It is a rolling project. Mike uses this on a fairly regular basis, like I do with my own 45 V6. Got an electric sunroof there, which we won't actually use today because I don't like using electric sunroofs on the older cars. I just get a bit nervous about them. Door locking buttons and hazard light switches down there. Got a centre console here. That feels quite nice, actually. I think this has got a CD changer in the boot. I can't actually show you that because the boot's got a lot of stuff in it, but we won't do that.
CD changes in the glove box there.
Oh, it's a glove box, is it? Oh, fantastic. Right, won't be getting my secret mission documents in there then, Mike. Won't be going in there because it won't fit, but nice little shelf there. It's really comfortable as well. It's amazingly comfortable. Electric memory seats down here, and the correct sort of kick plate too. I mean, this is I've filmed a lot of 75s and ZTs. I've filmed 3 ZTs and another 75, a facelift one. And you know, I like them, but this is the one that I would have out of all of them. Dual zone climate control. This looks really nice with the original stereo just sat there. It looks really at home. So yes, let's just move to the back. We'll go on the left-hand side for that. So we've got features like the Rover badges here, which are on the flanks, which I think came off later on. Sort of lettering on the plinth is still here. The badge is still there. So yes, it's an early Longbridge car. It's not a Cowley car. I think I might have got confused a little bit earlier on. This is no budget reviews after all, so that can happen. Just look at this. It's so inviting. It's wonderful. Huge, big, massive centre armrest with space to put a biro or probably a fountain pen in this car, really. Business cards, cup holders, and then there's this sort of massive dome light at the front, which I've always thought looks really, really interestingly shaped. And we've got, I think we've got sort of courtesy lights here for the rear passengers. Everything, of course, is all chromed up. I kind of wish they'd put a door pocket in there, but never mind. Vents for the rear passengers. These seats remind me of the ones I had on my post-facelift 45 with a sort of pocket like that. Of course, they're much nicer quality.
For a second. They are exactly the same seats as what you had in the early 45.
Yeah.
One of the reasons they stopped fitting them in. Hello. Hi all.
Hello, Mike.
Hello. One of the reasons they stopped fitting these seats into the 45 is because of the weight of the seats and the width of the track that they had to use on the 45. So they're 75 seats, but the frame they sit on were made for the 45. And because the seat frame for the Rover was narrower than it was for the 75, as you can imagine, if you get somebody like me on the heavier side and the seat is narrower, you get more flex in the floor pan. And what used to happen on the earlier 45s with this style of seat is they actually used to break the welds on the floor pan. So when the first round of Project Drive came in, they fitted the smaller seats, which is a shame because the 45 with these front seats look great.
Yeah, they did. I mean, I think Chris, who was at the gathering, he brought his earlier 45 V6 with the it's a monogram interior in that.
Sorry.
Yeah, we've got the
even all four bulbs on the illuminated sun visors still work.
yeah, illuminated sun. I'll go illuminated sun visors. Those cup holders there, which I've forgotten actually that are in a 75, they still work. Torpedo badges are here, and the windscreen's still an original Rover one. We'll just have a look at the illuminated sun visors since we're here. There we go. Brilliant. Yeah, it's an amazing car this to have all these different bits still sort of functioning. Boot release. I think on some of these you can use the key fob, but we'll use the release down here. So it's got a few bits of stuff in it, so we won't dwell too much on it. But original plate from the dealership where it was sold after it was actually owned by MG Rover themselves. It's a very kind of long boot. It's just a little bit on the shallow side. I've always found. But you really want, if you're 75, to have a plate like this. You don't want the standard size because it looks all wrong. Parking sensors, which personally I think is a good idea on a big long car like this.
And they still work?
Yeah, mine are really temperamental on mine. But
you mentioned about the boot, sorry, but the rear seat folds as well on this one.
was that not on all of them?
Only on top spec ones.
Wow, that's quite interesting, isn't it? Right, let's take a look at the engine. I think the bonnet's already been popped actually, so we'll just take a look. I think it's got hydraulic struts on this. I might be able to do this Ian Seabrook's son do it with one hand whilst filming. Let's see if I can do this. Yes. Hydraulic struts. 2 litre KV6 engine, developing 150 horsepower. It does look a bit more cramped actually than the 45 V6. In fact, it definitely is. Because if you want to get to the rear spark plugs, you do have to kind of struggle a bit to get to them, whereas actually on a 45 V6 it's relatively easy. So you'd think that, you know, Rover designed the car for this engine, they would have maybe made the access a little bit better, whereas the old 45 was based on a car from 1992. So you would have thought they would have sorted that out, but no.
Are you interested in the compactness story, quickly?
Just pause that a second. Okay.
You mentioned about the compactness of the engine bay. That was all dictated by the end cap crash test worthiness of it. Because if you look at the design of the inner wings, they come across at 45 degrees to give you an extra crumple zone. So the engine is mounted slightly lower and slightly further back in the engine bay than what you'd have on the 45, because obviously that was generically an older design. But to get to the rear plugs on these isn't a major issue as well, because if you remove It sounds complicated, but if you remove the wiper arms, this plastic trim, which is a 5-minute job, this here, which I'm pointing at, is a false bulkhead plate. You remove the sound insulation, behind there there's 4 little 8mm screws, and the plate comes away, and then the room goes from being that to right to the bottom of the windscreen. So to change the plugs, all you need to do is stand on a stout wooden box or something, stand over the engine bay with a torch, and you can get to the 3 plugs at the rear, which catches a lot of garages out who've never done them before.
You obviously make sure if you're going to buy one of these V6 engine 75s that you have a history of the plugs being done properly.
Absolutely, and the belts obviously, and the 3 cam belts.
Yeah, 3 belts. It's a minimum £500 job, that.
Oh, minimum.
Yeah. I had a coil pack fail on mine at the back, and if that happens, it runs like absolute rubbish. It would run like rubbish. So have some spare coil packs ready just in case that happens.
Just buy 6.
Yeah, they're not
too dear.
They're about 30 quid. I bought 30 quid original as well, actually, for mine. Yeah. But you've just got to remember that the pre-2002 coil packs are different from the later ones. They are different. So just make sure when you're buying them, because they're a complete different shape as well. So
that's still on all the original coil packs are still in there.
That's crazy, because mine just had a new set. Right. Okay. I think it's time to go for a drive. Right, viewers, because of in fact I get numbers mixed up, the drive is going to be with this interior light on. That's the best we can do under the circumstances. So when the car was launched in 1999, well, actually you could say 98 or 99, depends on which we sort of prefer to say, really, in a way. There were a few engines available. 1.8 K series, 118 horsepower, 2 litre V6 V6 like this, 150 horsepower, and then the top of the range was the 2.5 V6, 177 horsepower. There are also some diesels available, but as usual, we don't talk about diesels on this channel. This particular car has the 2 litre V6, 150 horsepower, with a manual gearbox. It feels considerably faster than my 45 V6, which has an automatic gearbox, and unlike in the 75, you couldn't get a manual. Obviously on this one you could get a manual or an auto on quite a number of the engines, actually. Later on in the 75's life, this engine was swapped out, I think in about 2003, for a K-Series turbo with say about 150 horsepower. The ZT actually had a number of different sort of power outputs depending on which one you wanted and when. We won't sort of cover that today. Trim lines available for the pre-facelift 75s like this one were Classic SE, Club SE, Connoisseur SE, and then the 5 millionth, I think, or some weird special edition about 2004, which I never understand these things. It was around the anniversary of Rover's 100th birthday. To drive, this is really good. I think the ZT is a good compromise between handling and ride, but ride on this is absolutely lovely. You do get a bit of body roll, it's a little bit more than in a ZT, but we've still got the glorious sounding engine. They're not the most reliable engines of V6 in some ways. Once you get one sorted, then they're pretty good. But you've got to remember, these engines need a cam belt change about every 6 years. And it's a very expensive one because there are 3 of them. It's a minimum £500 job. Also, the inlet manifolds on these do fail. They are plastic inlet manifolds, and they have a variable valve type system on them, and that can go a bit wrong. I had mine on my car changed. Also, of course, thermostat housing. Yeah, the thermostat housing's on these notorious for going a bit wrong, and mine has gone wrong twice. And that was not fun. really. You can get an upgraded metal thermostat housing from a company called MG Discount MG Rover Spares in Southampton, which is what my car has. And then you don't want to have a problem with thermostat housing sort of blowing up and blowing coolant all over the forecourt of a garage, which happened to me. So yeah, the K series engines, you just have to really make sure with those that you keep on top of the maintenance, and they can be fantastic. If you have a problem with the head gasket, which a lot of people have done, particularly because it's a 1.8, so it's the most stretched version of the K series they ever made, what you need to do is find someone first of all competent in actually putting the new head gasket in. And some people, you know, these days wouldn't necessarily know to do that because these are older cars now, but there are loads of specialists out there who will do that for you properly. And the head gasket that you want to fit is not necessarily Model S steel one. You want the original spec one, so something like a Lotus Elise one or a Victor Rice one is the one that you want to use, the original spec one, which will be better. And sometimes you can actually get more power out of the car, like up to 20 horsepower, by fitting a good quality one and having it done properly by somebody. Obviously, yeah, it's well documented they go wrong, but actually a lot of them actually can do 200,000 miles without too many problems if you keep up with the maintenance, change the cam belt on the engine, and have a good quality head gasket fitted by somebody who knows what they're doing.
In fairness, if you compare this to other Luxo barges of the same era, such as like the V6 Amigas, if you ignore them, they disintegrate as well.
Exactly.
You know, it's a very, even though it's a very old-fashioned looking car, at the time of its launch and most of the way through its lifestyle, it was a very up-to-date, advanced engineered car. And as with anything, once these sort of cars fall into the second and third owners, their scrupulousness for servicing goes by the wayside, and they just become abused and neglected. And anything that's abused and neglected will go wrong. You know.
Yeah, that's right. And if you're in the hands of an enthusiast owner such as Mike, who knows these cars inside out, then you'll know that they can be very good.
Well, I don't proclaim to know it all. What I do proclaim is to know enough. And
you do, don't you?
And I understand the shortcomings of these things. But to be fair, this has been pretty much pushed into daily usage since I bought it. Formerly, it was Martin Knowles' car for car mechanics. It was run as a project car. And he had it for about 2 years, and I think put about 400 miles on it. And I put 5,000 on it in the time that I've had it, and I've not had it anywhere near a year yet. And it's been fine. It's been absolutely fine.
It's running really, really well. This ride is really nice. It rides compliant. Steering feels good. You know, you do get a body roll, but if that's a problem for you, just get a ZT. You know, they're fundamentally the same. There are problems unique to the 75, such as where there are some aluminium suspension components, and there can be government corrosion on them between there and the body.
It's guaranteed.
Yeah. For some reason, and I know sometimes the fuel gauges and temperature gauges don't work, and I don't quite know why that is, but that can happen. I know that on the forbidden fuel ones, the alternator can be very, 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 very difficult to sort of get into. And
yes.
Those of you familiar with the Welsh-based YouTube channel that many of us follow will understand such things. So unusually, I've asked Mike to drive, because actually we've got a bit more light if I film forwards like this rather than sort of using the mount. It's amazing. Like, I think this is one of the best modern cars in terms of the ride. The ride is just amazing. It grips on perfectly well around roundabouts. It's just that it does roll a bit, but then if you want to put ZT suspension in your 75, or just buy a ZT, and you can, it's not a problem. The KB6 sounds absolutely glorious. Obviously I have one in my own car, but they sound really good. The engine's actually very punchy in this because of having a manual gearbox, and you can feel the torque a lot better in it as well. So if you're thinking of saying, well, I've got to decide between a 75 V6 engine and a 45 V6, I don't know if possibly you might, because I was faced with the same dilemma. Just drive a 2-litre manual V6 75 if you can find one. There's not many around particularly, but they are now in the hands very often of connoisseurs.
Well, this particular version may be available in the springtime.
This particular version. The Mike's enjoys it. Look at this, the dials backlit there. It's beautiful. You know, I understand why people really like these cars. You know, they have got their issues, but like, you know, Jaguar X-Type's got its issues. Or
even the cigar lights are still glowing in the dark.
There we go.
Marvellous.
So yeah, a bit of an unusual kind of drive. I don't normally sort of do things like this, but I think it's sort of worth it for this. And you know, I've personally very, very much enjoyed it. Obviously, you know, make sure you visit AR Online. It is the best resource for stuff from about 1952 up to 2005, and actually later, because they do also cover some of the newer MGs as well.
Oh, we got a bit of engine noise here.
Yep. So we'll do a bit of engine noise, because you know, there's nothing like a bit of KV6 noise actually. So we'll just have a little bit of that.
It's a menacing growl, isn't it?
It's nice. I mean, when Mr. Richard the Furious drove my car, he got it up to, I think, about 6,500 RPM, because he absolutely booted it up a motorway slip road, and it roared like nothing else. So here we go, viewers. We've got a bit more ready. Soundproofing in this car is quite good, so you might not hear it too well, but I'll move my hand away from where the microphone is, so we can hear it a bit better. That's good. We're not speeding, by the way, viewers. We're definitely not actually speeding. It just shows you can have good fun in this car and not break any laws, which of course is always best. Right, I think we're going to go back now, and I will see if I can come to some kind of conclusion, other than that it's the best fun ever and I've had a fantastic time. I do apologise, viewers, the light has pretty much gone now. What can we say in conclusion about this wonderful 2001 Rover 75 2-litre V6 Connoisseur SE manual? Well, this might be possibly the best type of 75 I've driven. I mean, some people will say the Cowley cars are even better, but this is probably the perfect specification for many of people out there. We just see if we can get better. There we go. I'm really convinced that MG Rover should have sold the 45 V6 with a manual gearbox. It would have been a lot better. That's for one of the main weaknesses of the car, apart from other stuff, is the gearbox. So thank you to Mike for supplying the car. Thank you ever so much indeed for watching that No Budget Review. Sorry it's been a bit sort of impromptu and a bit random. Mike has produced many sort of useful nuggets. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video and leave a comment below. Thank you ever so much indeed once again for watching.